All right. So, hello, people. Hey. I'm Jason here from the Hellenic Wolf podcast, where I bring people to talk about functional fitness and about healing practices for men and women in their 30s and 40s that want to be at home and still manage their bodies well and be healthy and fit and also energetic and vibrant. So today's guest is a very interesting one, of course, and I did also 10-minute podcast with him, so you can check that out down below in the description. And the last question was very funny, so go check that out for sure. Now, Kelly, let's go. First of all, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Last time we talked was November in 2021.
That's true. That's true.
It's been a minute. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. So, all right, I'm going to jump into it very fast since we have only 20 minutes at most. So I have a friend, Kelly, and he's a kettlebell champion here in Greece. He's called Pavlos Georgiadis. You can check him out. I'm going to probably, send him your stuff. And he's now 36. He recently had some issues with his knees. And he did some peptides and all that stuff to try to fix it and all that stuff. But I think his knees he said to me that there's a thing in the knees that protects the knees. I don't know the English word exactly, but it's completely gone. So this thing in one of his knees, I think the right one, it's completely gone. The thing that's protective above the bone. I think you understand basically more or less what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So what would advise a guy like that to do in the next, he's not competing anymore. He's probably going to stop in a couple of years at most, but to stay fit and to keep doing his exercise, what would you advise him to add maybe if he does not have that? So more or less, if you know nothing about him, what would you tell him to do?
So I don't know anything about him, but here's the key to think about this is that a lot of times when we get involved with strength conditioning as a sport, it's not best practice around durability. It's not the best practice around healthiness. It's the best practice of who can get the most reps or ride the fastest or lift the heaviest weight or swim. And those things are not necessarily about health. We always try to say, can we come out unharmed? But underneath the athlete is a person. We don't know what the environment is, or the trauma. We don't know the accidents you had as a kid. So, some of this is, hey, some of us have incredible genetics and we can come out of this unharmed, and we have good practices and good coaches and we're managing that. And some of us came out of traditions were less effective and had less good genetics. And suddenly we end up in a situation where we can't do the thing we want to do anymore. So that's okay. And it's okay to say, hey, look, I can't compete it this way for a long time because, again, that may be a compromise. So as we retire, and everyone's going to retire from the highest levels of sport eventually. It will happen. You're going to age out. You just can't compete. You can compete as a master against other masters, but you can't be the best. So the issue now is one of durability and quality of life. And the idea is, if we knew that he had some changes in his tissues, well, I would say we all have changes in our tissues. And so the question would be, well, what is it that got him to look at those changes in tissues? And it was probably pain. He was in so much pain that he could no longer do his sport. So suddenly in this situation, pain is a request for change. So it's the brain asking us to pay attention to some aspect. Because if he didn't have cartilage or was missing meniscus, but he didn't have pain, what would be the question? Because oftentimes we can still function at a very high level without pain, but with these changes in our tissues. As he changes volume, he's still able to swing lots of heavy kettlebells and deadlift. But what ends up happening is we can just say, hey, he's lost some tolerance for the kinds of things he was doing. So is there another way to do those things? We like to say that pain is the low bar. It's the easiest thing to knock out. And if you didn't have pain but had to modify your movements, well, that's okay. We see that all the time from people who have old injury histories, or something happens, or they're stenotic, or they've tweaked their shoulder in a fall and a crash. So it's easy to continue to train. What we like to say is, hey, there's 150 things you can do in the gym. You can still do 100 of them and be very, very effective mover and not have any pain. Let's do that. There's ways to keep muscle mass on with blood flow restriction and volume and change. And we can start doing things like bodybuilding like things to support the tissues. Great, we can do that. And then I would say, let's spend your credits on things you love. So if you like jujitsu, let's make sure that you're using all of your tissue tolerances for a sport or for an activity or playing with your children, not wasting them trying to recover something you did in your 20s in the gym. The problem with human beings is that we are obsessed with the short term and we forget that we're going to be 100 years old. And sometimes you have to have an orthopedic surgery because you crashed or something happened. And that's okay. That's also okay. Surgery is not a failure. Surgery can be a new beginning when we have sometimes gone through our tissue tolerances or have mechanics that we just can't work around. So for him, first order of business is to get out of pain. Second order of business is to think, hey, how can I still express myself physically in a way that keeps me psychologically intact and in touch with my training partners and my family? And then let's go ahead and figure out how to train like that, and we'll spend the tissue credits on things that we like.
All right, excellent. I'm going to send you this clip, and I hope he follows your advice. So, Kelly, I have another question now. So, I see from your videos and all that stuff that you provide that you have many things to do to mobilize your hips, to do deep squats, to do different stances, to improve your mobility in the shoulders and all that stuff. But since I'm getting into sales more and more, and I have to be on the road and in offices and sell things and blah, 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 fucking blah. And I have to wear my suits. And I have to wear maybe or jeans or suits. So, and I find myself, doing your exercises, for example, in the morning before I go to work, and then getting back from work like late evening. So what can I do in the meantime? Because I find myself very, very tired in the late evening.
Yeah. So let me jump in and say that this is so common for everyone. And when I was at university, I studied geography, which is the cultural geography, the interaction of human and environment. That was the thing I was most interested in. How do we shape our environments? How do our environments shape us? And then the thing I got my doctoral degree in at physical therapy, the thing I studied was barriers to adherence. What keeps people from doing what they know they need to do? So ultimately, this is about behavior and behavior change. So let's say that you're now an average person, you're a typical person who doesn't have a lot of agency in the day. So where do you have control of your life? In the morning and in the evening? Well, in the morning, that may be the time where you have to do your training because that's the only time of the day. At the end of the day, you're too tired, don't want to train. That's very reasonable. So we need to go to bed early. We need to get off the caffeine early so you can get up early and train and have enough time to warm up and do everything you need to do. And then during the day, what I would focus on was drinking water, moving as much as I can, walking as much as I can, eating high quality foods, fruits and vegetables and great proteins, and maybe getting a little sunlight. And then that's good. You've done it. Then when you get home in the evening, now let's say, hey, what is sore from the day? What's tired? I can put my foam roller or my massage gun or my ball in front of the television, in front of the computer, and I can have 10 or 15 minutes of input towards the end of the day, asking what is tight, what is sore, what couldn't I do? I can sit on the ground, cross-legged, side saddle, kneeling, squatting. Even just sitting on the ground and not sitting on the couch in the end of the day is working on your hip range of motion. Remember, you're always prepping for the next day. And what you've just done there is created a physical practice. So you've done a lot of walking, you drank water, you were moving, you were engaging your community, you had friends, you had control in the morning, you had control in the evening. That's enough. And then on days when you feel like you're more excited, go deadlift in the evening, or on the weekends, turn those into really hard training days, and then take the natural sort of rhythm of your life during the week and use those as more recovery days, active recovery. We're just going to walk and soft tissue roll.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
You
Yeah.
can't have, everyone, if you're a young coach, you give someone a perfect plan and that person has job and kids, you just don't understand. And I think a lot of us don't understand until we have job and kids, where we're like, wow, I can't do one more thing. So where do I fit this in? Here's a good example. I have a 13-year-old daughter who is very good at water polo, extremely good at water polo. And she's a goalie. She likes to play water polo. She's a busy student. She has friends. So where do I train? When do we go to the gym? So I've created little 15-minute couplets, little 20-minute couplets I call skill strength or strength skills, where we go out and we'll just back squat the bar for 10 sets of 5, or we do kettlebell swings and we throw the ball around. And the idea here is that the more important piece is to be consistent, not heroic. So instead of saying, well, we can't have an hour to train, so we won't train anything, I say, well, I have these 20-minute windows to train with her, and we can do that after homework, before water polo, et cetera, and I can make a lot of gains by getting her to have these little movement skill strength breaks throughout the week in addition to that, instead of doing nothing.
All right. Yeah, sounds reasonable. So
I'm so reasonable. As I've gotten older, I'm so reasonable.
Yeah, well, from your videos, I think you were always reasonable.
I'm more
and
reasonable.
at the same time, you weren't. So,
That's
and
right.
that's a great appeal about you. I think it's you are a persona, and you can. I think my opinion, humble opinion about you, is that you are able to be fun and professional at the same time, and moving around those.
We had to be fun because the things I talk about aren't sexy. Tissue health, range of motion, position, recovery. It's not sexy. It's not fun. So and I think that's one of the reasons we didn't realize it was such an opportunity to get better. So we have to be a little bit fun. We have to be goofy.
Sure. I applaud that. So now my next question is, since we have less than 10 minutes now, I want to tell us what's your life in a day of you. What are you doing more or less in a day? Because I'm personally very curious, and I think I would love to know your personal, more or less, your weekly regimen, more or less. So how do you sleep? How do you eat? How many meals and all that stuff? So
it's so
have
boring.
something steady?
I'm sorry for everyone. I'll keep it very simple. I try to eat 800 grams of fruits and vegetables every day. That's number one. I don't think we can eat enough plant matter, and fruits and vegetables are full of phytonutrients and micronutrients and fiber. I try to get 175 to 200 grams of protein every day across as many sources as I can. And that's my eating. So however I can do that. This morning I had a little cup of yogurt and some berries. I'm about to have a 50-gram protein shake because I'm behind on my protein. I love my sauna. This morning early, I got my kids off. I made them breakfast. My wife made lunch. She went and trained with her lady friends in the garage. I don't like to train first thing in the morning. Sometimes I'll do biking first thing in the morning or hard conditioning, but I don't like to lift heavy weights. So I went and sat in the sauna for 12 minutes. That was my big sauna. I got a sweat in 12 minutes. I protect my sleep like it's my job. It's the most important thing to me. So I stopped drinking caffeine early in the evening. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke weed, because those things wreck my sleep. I'm not saying that those things are off limits for people. I'm just saying that if you do them before you go to bed, you will not sleep great. So I sleep where my bed is very cold. I sleep with an eye mask, and I sleep between 8.5 and 9.5 hours every night. I have to, otherwise I cannot recover. I cannot feel good. And then I try to, I think I discovered a long time ago about myself that I probably have ADHD or ADD, and exercise is a way of self-soothing. So if I move, I feel better. So that can be yesterday or the day before. I had only a 30-minute window to train. So I jump roped and I pressed, and I jump roped and I pressed, and then I did 3 minutes of blood flow restriction for the arms. But the idea is I'd rather do something for a short time than 2 hours of perfectly trained in the gym. I get 3 heavy days a week, but now I'm realizing that I am strong enough and big enough. I know I'm probably at 107 kilos, 108 kilos, which is very heavy. I have little abs, you can see. I'm almost 50 years old, but I don't want to be any stronger and I don't want to be any heavier. So what I want to do is maintain my positions and feel good. But if I don't deadlift and I ride my bike 3 or 4 times a week, which I try to do, then I don't feel good unless I deadlift. So I use deadlifting and training as a way of maintaining this sort of integrity of my position. And then I have an incredible wife and amazing friends and daughters, and I try to think everything is about spending more time with them. So how much play can I get in? And then the work is crazy. We live my wife and I run this business together, and we've been doing it long enough now that we are trusted, and we have incredible friends doing amazing work. And we get to work with those people from professional sports to military to universities to individuals. And so there's a lot of work. So I feel like we have just come through being beginners. No longer I can say I'm a beginner. I'm now a good intermediate, and I'm of service and of use to people. That means it's time to work hard. So, some days it's crazy it's a sprint till the end of the day, but ultimately everything is about having dinner with my family, playing, hanging out with my wife. That's the goal of the whole world. So that's my week. And I just rinse, wash, repeat, rinse, wash, repeat. I just practice. And then sometimes it gets crazy and I have to travel and teach, but I do a lot of thinking and a lot of reading and a lot of work. And I feel like I have a really full, sustainable life. What I'll say is sort of my new motto, and people can relate to this, is the faster you go and the harder you work, the bigger your breaks need to be. So there's no idea of balance. Balance is this thing that like you're in some perfect balance. You're not. I want you to just recognize that for me, it feels like I'm either full on the gas, wide open, full gas, or I'm full on the brakes. And there's no in between. It's either 100 miles an hour, I'm going to die, or I have to slam on the brakes and do nothing. And my brakes have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow. Yeah, I am very proud. I'm very happy to hear that, because more or less I have the same. I never understood the whole balance thing. I think that the life has to, you have to live full. The same way you make love full to your wife and to your girlfriend, and that's what I always tell to my friends. If you do a balanced life, it's like do a balanced sex to your wife or your girlfriend, which doesn't make any sense. In everything you do in life as a man, at least I do, or try to do, is exactly what you say. And probably you are more master than I am, more wise, but
I'm just older.
Yeah, I think you are also more wise, though. Yeah, you're more older and more wise and more strong, which I have to get there. So thank you, Kelly, for coming by the podcast. I know that we have to stop shortly. And so for the next couple of minutes, tell us a little bit about the Ready State. What are you doing, guys? And give us the social media of your platform.
So you can think of the Ready State as sort of two things. I think we are an ecosystem. We make products, we have books, we do consulting. I work with companies to help solve problems, we teach. But the core is two things. One is that we have an app called the Virtual Mobility Coach or Mobility Coach. And on there, you can take a movement assessment. I think I have one of the best movement assessments in the world. It's built on the back of 1 million good coaches, 1 million good thinkers, and then our own model of how people move. And so you can sort of say, hey, how am I feeling? Do I have full access to my positions? Am I at full power? And then you can jump into the programs that fit in. So if you speak yoga or kettlebells or Olympic lifting or CrossFit, or you do something, this is a universal movement language that you'll be able to understand. But also if you have pain, we have great ways on there to help you manage your own pain, right? Change your brain, move, bottom up, top down ideas. Simultaneously, on the site, we have a sort of digital education universe. And I have about 10 protocols that are very specific programming ideas around behavior and environment and mobilizations and restoration if you have pain problems, plantar fasciitis, you've had surgery, you've had a total knee replacement, you have shoulder pain. How can we support you in giving you the power to potentially make yourself feel better and to restore your positions and mechanics? Right? It's your right to be able to do that. And sometimes not everyone can see a physical therapist. You can't see a physical therapist often enough. Your physical therapist isn't in the gym. So you can take this in. And then we also have courses around sort of our system based on the book and the thinking, my system of understanding complex human movement. That's our 101 course, which is our elementary course. This is how we can a model to understand how people are moving across any sport or any platform, how to restore that position and restore that power. And then the second course that we have, which I'm really proud of, is an assessment course. So how do we help people manage pain in the gym, and how do we sort of more accurately understand why your squatting looks like that? No one is looking at your hip. They're just changing your foot position or changing your ankles. They're not changing your range of motion. And then lastly, we have a brand new course out called our 103 course, which is training the injured athlete. We're trying to help coaches become more skilled at managing problems, managing common musculoskeletal injuries and problems that are no longer acute. They don't need a doctor. The doctor is not set up to handle the problem. The physical therapist is not set up to handle the problem. The coach is set up to continue to restore the position. So if you've had an ACL reconstruction and the physical therapist is like, you're no longer getting physical therapy, what do you do then? Well, you just figure it out yourself. Well, we're realizing that we can help coaches do a better job of managing these things in the context of the gym. So that's our training the injured athlete course. So we've got that whole ecosystem going. One is we want to help professionals become better professionals. And two, we want to help people begin to develop a language of self-care and autonomy so that we can begin to only see our doctors when we really have problems or really have injuries.
All right. So, and of course, I guess you don't have a personal account in the Instagrams. Do you have, or is it the Ready State?
It's the Ready State. But if you want to see what's going on in my life, you can go on TikTok. You can follow the Starretts, our last name, Starretts, the Starretts, or you can follow my wife, Juliette Starrett. She shows what's on in the life. So I like to say that I'm not actually on social media. The business is on social media. My business brain is on social media, my coach. But if you want to see what's happening in our life, follow my wife or follow us on TikTok.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to make a TikTok account just to go and
you have to do it.
I'm very curious.
You have to do it. It's important. It's important. It's how young people communicate, and there's so much goodness. The problem with TikTok is that it's sometimes too short, but there's a lot of ways to entertain people and to get good ideas.
Yeah, I think so. All right. So thank you, Kelly, for coming by again. And people, if you like this interview with Kelly, go and check Kelly's and the Ready State accounts and website and everything. And please press the like button if you like this interview. It's good karma, if I may say so. And having said that, see you in the next episode of the Healing Wolf podcast. And Kelly, please stay for 30 seconds after the recording. Everybody else, enjoy your day, enjoy your night, and see you in the next episode.